Okay, picture this. It's the front lines of World War II. A secret American army is being deployed. They've got tanks, artillery, thousands of soldiers, but there's a huge catch. None of it was real. This is the absolutely incredible story of an army that fought with illusions, a unit of artists and sound engineers who basically weaponized creativity. Right? How is that even possible? This is what we're going to get into. The unit's official name was the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops, but everyone knows them by their much, much cooler name, the Ghost Army. Their whole job was to invent phantom armies to fool the German High Command. And honestly, when you hear about what they pulled off, it's mind-blowing. So let's set the scene. It's March 1945. German scouts have their binoculars glued to the Rhine River, and what they're seeing is their worst nightmare. A massive American force. We're talking tens of thousands of troops, tanks, artillery, all getting ready for a huge push. They're frantically radioing back to headquarters. The attack is coming. But here's the thing. Those German scouts were completely, totally wrong. The army they saw wasn't 30,000 men. It was only 1,100. And this is the perfect example of the Ghost Army's mission. Put on a performance so convincing that the enemy would waste their bombs and move their troops to the wrong spot. This allowed the real American divisions to cross the Rhine somewhere else with way fewer casualties. It was battlefield theater. So who do you even find for a job like this? You're not looking for your typical tough-as-nails soldier. The U.S. Army did something that was, frankly, genius. They went to art schools, they went to ad agencies, they went to recording studios. They needed people who understood how to manipulate perception. I mean, look at this roster. It reads like a list of future creative superstars. You had Bill Blass, who would become this legendary fashion designer. You had Ellsworth Kelly, a future pioneer of minimalist art. These weren't soldiers who happened to be artistic. They were artists who were asked to go to war with their talent. And that's exactly it. That quote from Bill Blass just nails it. They were basically actors on the most dangerous stage in the world, where one bad review could have deadly consequences. They had to think like con artists, figuring out exactly what the enemy expected to see, and then giving it to them. Okay, so let's get into the how. How do they actually build these fake armies? Well, it was like a symphony of deception, with three main parts: the visual, the sonic, and the radio. And everything had to work together perfectly. First up, the visuals. And this is where it gets really wild. The Ghost Army had hundreds of inflatable, life-size replicas of everything: tanks, jeeps, artillery, you name it. They were made of rubber, and you could inflate one in just a few minutes. From a German spy plane thousands of feet up, they looked completely real. Just look at this comparison. It's almost comical. A real Sherman tank weighed 30 tons. It's a beast of steel. Theirs, 90 pounds. A real one needed a crew of 5 guys to operate. The fake one could be picked up and moved around by just 4 guys. It's just a brilliant, pragmatic way to save lives. Of course, an army of silent, inflatable tanks is a dead giveaway, right? So next they had to sound the part. This is where the sound engineers became superstars. They recorded this massive library of battlefield sounds: tank engines, bridge building, soldiers yelling, and they would blast these sounds from huge speakers mounted on trucks. They could make a couple of jeeps sound like an entire armored division roaring through the night. And the scale of this sonic deception was just incredible. These recordings could be heard from up to 15 miles away. Think about that for a second. That's like being in one town and hearing an entire army moving through the next one over. These guys were masters of acoustics, carefully planning how the sound would travel over hills and through valleys to be perfectly convincing. The final piece of this brilliant puzzle was spoof radio. The unit's operators would send out tons of fake radio traffic. But it wasn't just random noise. They had to perfectly mimic the unique communication styles of real divisions. They'd send fake orders, report fake troop movements. They even copied the specific Morse code rhythm, or fist, of individual radio operators from the units they were impersonating. The level of detail was just insane. Now, these tricks weren't just for little skirmishes. The Ghost Army, along with other deception units, played a crucial and for decades top-secret role in the single most important invasion of the war, D-Day. So the big Allied plan before D-Day was a massive deception called Operation Fortitude. The goal was simple, but absolutely monumental. Convince Hitler that the real invasion was going to happen at Pas-de-Calais, which is the shortest point across the English Channel. The Ghost Army was a key part of building this gigantic phantom army, supposedly led by the one general the Germans feared most, George Patton. And the payoff was historic. When the Allies finally hit the beaches at Normandy on June 6th, Hitler was so convinced by the fake-out that he kept 19 of his best divisions, including powerful panzer units, waiting at Pas de Calais. He held them there for weeks, waiting for an invasion that was never going to come. That delay gave the real Allied forces the time they desperately needed to secure the beachhead, and it undoubtedly saved thousands and thousands of lives. So, after the war, you'd think these guys would have been celebrated as heroes, right? But they couldn't be. Their entire operation was classified top secret. They were all sworn to secrecy. For 50 years, they couldn't tell a soul what they did. Not their wives, not their kids, nobody. The truth only started trickling out in 1996 when the records were finally declassified, and it took until 2022, nearly 80 years after their missions, for the Ghost Army to finally get one of the nation's highest honors, the Congressional Gold Medal. It was recognition that was so incredibly long overdue. But their legacy goes way beyond just a secret war story. These veterans took their unbelievable skills back to civilian life, and they helped shape the world we live in today. Their understanding of illusion influenced Hollywood special effects. Their mastery of perception changed modern advertising. And get this, some of the same sound guys who fooled the Germans went on to consult for Walt Disney Imagineering, using the same principles to create the immersive sounds you hear in theme parks. And, of course, their work basically wrote the playbook for modern psychological and information warfare. The story of the Ghost Army is just incredible. It's proof that sometimes the most powerful weapon isn't a bomb, but a really clever idea. It makes you wonder what other stories like this are still out there, just waiting to be told. So I've got to ask you, what do you think is the most brilliant deception in all of history? Let us know what you think down in the comments.